So at IA Collaborative, we are converging design and business thinking in order to create new growth strategies, uncover new behaviors, and build new businesses. The first thing I'll do today is share what this convergence of design and business looks and feels like. So what you saw there were diverse teams, researchers, designers, business strategists, engineers, architects, all collaborating to uncover new behaviors through user-centered, design-led research, observational research that gets to what people are doing, not just what they're saying, uncovering unarticulated needs and motivations, and unsupported behaviors. These are opportunities for innovation. When we understand these opportunities through this type of research, we create growth strategies, and then we build new businesses collaboratively with our clients. And clients that we have include global 100 clients, people that are across multiple industries, tech, insurance, pharmaceutical companies, leaders of their industries. What do you think the one thing is that is at the top of these agendas, the top of the agenda for the CEO and the senior leadership at every single company on this slide? It's growth. But why growth? Why are we always obsessed with growth? This whole competition is about growth. I think it's one really important thing and also a secondary thing, but the most important thing is teams. Top performers love being at growing companies. There's great projects, exciting things to work on, opportunities for advancement, and importantly, opportunities to lead. At a growing organization, consistently, people with subject matter expertise in the area which the company is growing, regardless of tenure or hierarchy, have opportunities to lead. And that attracts the best people. The second reason, shareholders. And shareholders, of course, want growth. They want growth of things like this, stock price. But the thing is about this number that everybody obsesses about, people say the chief executive officer really should just be called the chief earnings officer. But the number that's up there is the expected value of all future returns of every business that you're in. So you think about this, an analyst might be following Abbott, FedEx, Pepsi, any publicly held company, and they understand every business that that company is in. They understand what the growth rates are. They've figured out what you're going to earn next quarter, most likely, next year, 5 years from now. They're discounting all that growth back to present day. They come up with an NPV. And that is essentially your stock price. We know there's other things going on, but that's really how it works. So if you're an executive and you're anticipating growth, it's all baked into the current day price. So what do? How do you deliver superior long-term results that are above and beyond what analysts think is actually possible? I think the only reasonable way to do this is to create new businesses, things that analysts don't know about because they don't exist yet. So creating new businesses, creating new growth is not easy. It requires us to go beyond our core, to take risks, to place really big bets in areas that have a lot of uncertainty. And because of this, that's why at IA Collaborative, we are converging design thinking and business thinking in order to reduce the risk, increase the opportunities to create new growth. Design thinking is really important because of a few reasons. One is it's incredibly human-centered. We look at unmet needs, we look at unarticulated motivations, and we translate current day activities that are unsupported into future demand. The other thing that design does really well is it prototypes to learn. If you're creating something that's entirely new to your business, or perhaps to the world, there's no data out there about that. So what we do as designers is we prototype essentially to create data from the future. You get things that are not quite baked, you get them in front of users, you understand how they interact with them, and then all of a sudden you have an idea of how people might interact with this once it gets into the real world. You also need business thinking, understanding market dynamics, aligning leadership, building cohesive business models, and of course, carefully allocating capital. So the combination of these two is incredibly powerful. And today I'm going to share a few examples of how we converge design thinking and business thinking in order to help a range of clients. So the first one I want to talk about is Allstate. Is Allstate in a growth market? Not exactly. IBIS World thinks it's growing about 1.9%, roughly. So what are they going to do? They're going to build entirely new businesses. And that's what Allstate did in our collaboration with them that I'm going to talk about today. So Allstate is typically in the insurance business of cars and autos, your most valuable things. But if you talk to senior leadership at Allstate, they think that your most valuable things in the future won't be physical assets, but they will be digital, your personal identity, all the things that are out there about you on the internet. So if you think about it, today, companies are selling your data without your permission. And that's the best case scenario. Worst case, it's on the dark web somewhere, and some bad things are happening to it. But in the future, companies will be paying you for your data, and you will want to protect it. You want to protect it now. So in order to do this, Tom Wilson has set out a bold vision. He says, we all gave up our data without knowing what it's worth. I'd like to change that data marketplace and turn it on its head. And that's exactly what Allstate's done. But in order to do that, they had to transform from an actuarial company creating insurance policies to protect your things into a technology company that builds digital products to protect your digital identity. It's a massive shift. So I'm going to share another 90-second video with you which demonstrates what this looks and feels like, and it's narrated by Tom Wilson when he's talking about this and announcing it at CES earlier this year in January.
What are you announcing? What is Allstate announcing this year?
We're basically going to help customers figure out the digital footprint is. Most people, when you get hacked, and it's like about 16 million got hacked last year, you got to figure out how to remediate with your credit card companies, your banks, and all kind of stuff. And we help people do that. That's in the rearview mirror. What we're doing is help you look out the front windshield and say, what's your digital footprint? So if you bought something from a store 3 years ago, you don't realize they're still collecting information on you. So first thing is we help you figure that out. So most people think they have about 50 accounts. It's 3 times that. Most people have 150 accounts.
152 accounts.
Wow, I didn't see that coming.
Okay, all right, well, I'm going to delete it.
What we're trying to do is empower the customer to take control of their digital life.
Okay, cool. There's one down.
We've traded away our individual information without really knowing what it's worth. And so what we want to do is empower customers to give them that choice and take control of their digital life.
So in order to launch this entirely new business at Allstate, they created a separate business unit called Allstate Digital Ventures, and they built an MVP app which discovers your digital footprint. So it scans the internet and says, what are all the accounts that you've ever interacted with for the entire time you've been on the internet? So not just the ones you remember, but everything. and then enables you to see, know, and control all of your digital footprint. So it's an insight-driven product. We understood from research, like I showed in that first video, where we're getting out there and understanding people's behaviors. We understood that people needed to take this kind of ambiguous, invisible thing, which is your cybersecurity and your digital identity, transform it into something you can see, which is this digital footprint visualization back there, in order to control it. We also learned from research that curiosity is a force for learning, but yet fear paralyzes you. Who here is excited to go and look at their digital security and their cybersecurity and the threats that they have? Okay, there's a few of you. Most people are not. And we learned from research that people just, when they thought about this, they just seized up and they did nothing. But when you create a visualization, you take the invisible and make it visible, it sparked curiosity, and curiosity drove engagement in this otherwise kind of scary place. We also leveraged Allstate's brand, which is renowned, in order to build trust in this otherwise kind of nebulous space. It required entirely new capabilities at Allstate, things that they didn't have before, things like product strategy, design, DevOps, technology. And I was talking earlier about how growing companies are places that top performers want to be. This is an example of that. 200 new roles in 2 years, and many of them were thrust into leadership opportunities, regardless of tenure or hierarchy. So that's why top performers want to be part of growing companies. It required a lot of rapid onboarding, make sure people understood the values and the vision of Allstate Digital Ventures. And of course, entirely new ways of doing work, taking a prototype approach like design does, 16 sprints in 2 years in order to iterate and figure out exactly what users want and what they might really adopt. And then also, all that research gives great confidence in terms of what to invest in, prioritizing what users need and what the business needs. So for example, we knew from research that online account discovery and proactive account management was really critical. So that is something that Allstate committed to building internally, building machine learning and AI capabilities, creating proprietary algorithms that don't exist in the industry. They also learned that users want total identity monitoring, so have a one-stop shop. And Allstate found a company, InfoArmor, which does dark web scanning. Sounds exciting. Identity remediation. And they also happen to have expertise within the sales channel of employee benefits, which opens up new business models. So sure, you could sell this, and they are right now, as individual subscription models through like an app store. But this partnership, this acquisition, which was about half a billion dollars, enabled them to get into entirely new sales channels as well. So design thinking plus business thinking converging in order to create new growth. So we're going to look at this in a framework that connects the two. So design thinking plus business thinking in order to identify where to play. What we did is observe new behaviors in the hyper-growth market of cybersecurity, $15 billion market. In terms of how to win, we understood from that research that people wanted to see, protect, and control their digital identity, and that visualization was key, which gained alignment to create an entirely new division called Allstate Digital Ventures. In terms of what to build, discovering your account and visualizing it, sparking that curiosity and creating engagement in something where engagement was incredibly low before Allstate got into this, and it unlocked new business models, direct to consumer as well as B2B. And then multiple sprints, prototyping to learn, which gives confidence to allocate capital at $500 million and also make massive investments in terms of machine learning and AI within Allstate. And I'll show one video here, which just launched last week. This is the digital footprint. I just signed up myself. You should check it out. So the convergence of design business thinking enabled this to be possible. So I'm going to introduce a detailed framework here that shows how business thinking and design thinking converge and where those connection points in order to repeatedly uncover new behaviors, create growth strategies, and build new businesses. Let's start with business thinking. You guys are in business school. Hopefully you know this. This is common practice. The first thing you do is you identify a growth market. Right? This is usually something that's adjacent to your core, probably has a higher growth rate, maybe has a little bit of fragmentation so you can come in and earn market share. Next thing you do is you align executives on the promise of this opportunity. You define what capabilities gaps exist, and you define a plan to fill them in order to capture the opportunity. You create business models that leverage your earned advantages and ensure profitability. You size the market, you figure out what your fair share is, you figure out what those cash flows might be, you discount them back, and you say, this is what we should allocate in terms of capital in order to get that return on our investment. And this works. It makes sense. That's why we teach it here in business schools. We're leveraging marketing strategy, leadership ops, all the things that you're learning. But in growth markets, there's new behaviors. It's new to your company for sure, because you're growing into a new market, but it might even be new to the world, depending on how much of a growth market it is. Do you understand those behaviors? You're aligning executives, but are you aligning them on a unique and salient insight that will give you competitive advantage? You're creating business models, but are they based on differentiated products and services in the marketplace that users will really want as a substitute for how they're accomplishing that need right now? And then finally, you think you know how big the market is and what your fair share might be, but do you really know how users are going to adopt it and how they're going to choose yours versus another opportunity? What is their willingness to pay? So these things, user research, problem reframing, experience design, prototyping, these are the tools of design thinking that when paired with and converged with the tools of business thinking, you're able to answer the 4 questions of growth, which is where to play, how to win, what to build, and when to fund, and repeatedly create new businesses. So Allstate is using this. We're using this with other clients. I'm going to share with you 2 more examples of how we're leveraging this framework and converging design and business thinking in order to create new growth. Lilly, a very different example. A major pharmaceutical company. They're in the business of creating blockbuster drugs by creating new molecules. But they are leveraging design and business thinking to go beyond molecules into precision medicine. So if you don't know what precision medicine, I'll tell you what it is. It's about optimizing treatment based on an individual's genetic profile. It sounds a little sci-fi. We know about 23andMe, but this is becoming super affordable, and this is the new way that medicines are going to be created. So Lilly is taking this huge leap into precision medicine. I'll show a quick example of what this means. So, for example, there are 3,000 endocrinologists in the country. There are 30 million diabetics. So if you do a simple math, that's 1 endocrinologist per 10,000 patients, or 12 minutes per patient per year. That does not sound like precision medicine. I don't think you can get to know somebody and actually diagnose them and prescribe the right things to them in 12 minutes. So Lilly is asking questions like, how might we hyper-personalize every minute of those doctor visits? And how could we do that? This is through the lens of precision medicine. So example, what if we map every individual's genome? What if we track their behavior 24/7, obviously on an opt-in basis? We all have the devices on us that enable us to do that. I think I have 3 of them on me right now. Monitor their adherence, which enables us to provide very precision dosing. Exactly what they need, nothing more, nothing less, for their genetic makeup. And then the output of that can be longitudinal health insights. For that 12 minutes out of the year you get your doctor, you're not subject to availability bias, what I did this week or last week. You're getting a full picture of what they're doing genetically, with the medication, lifestyle, so you can make those 12 minutes really count. And finally, you can use maybe digital therapies as proxy in those 364 days when you're not at the doctor. So when you think about this, the way therapy has worked traditionally is you have symptoms that eventually are observable and they present. Eventually, you get diagnosed, hopefully correctly, and then you get on a therapy. And that's how you manage your condition. In the world of precision medicine, now all of a sudden, you know so much about these patients that maybe you can prevent it altogether through the right lifestyle interactions and knowing what they're doing, tracking their data. You can maybe early diagnose before symptoms are observable. So your data and your trackers might know this before a doctor or a healthcare practitioner or you might even notice. And then maybe there are digital therapies that you engage with before you actually get on medication. And then when you do get on medication, you can augment it with other digital experiences that make that experience much better for you. Ultimately, that shifts you from therapy to an overall wellness of a patient. So how does design and business thinking come together in this case? New possibilities to improve outcomes using a design thinking lens. And then you've identified that this is within a $1 trillion precision medicine growth market. How to win? Ubiquity of low-cost gene mapping. This is something that we can leverage and extend for the good of the world and the good of the business, right? And that gets alignment at a company like Lilly on precision medicine. What to build? Patient relationships. You have a patient relationship about therapy. This extends your relationship across a much wider expanse, which gets you a better opportunity in a larger marketplace. And you do this through new digital and service models. And then finally, if anybody knows about clinical research and how this works, it's like a 7-year process. If you go into it and it doesn't work, you kind of have to go back to square one. So we're working with Lilly to use design-led research in order to understand what might work before you get into clinical trials, understanding true behavior and true behavioral change through this unusual and new methods of digital therapy and precision medicine, which is enabling Lilly to make much smarter investments to expand the scope of what medicine means in medicine delivery. So design thinking plus business thinking. Hopefully you're a believer right now, right? In summary, what do? We uncover new behaviors in growth markets. We create and identify unique insights to align leadership. We create differentiated products and services for sustainable business models. And then you understand true adoption through things like prototyping in order to give confidence in the right capital allocation. So you might be asking yourself, did this guy just double my responsibility and workload? Yes, I did. But that's okay, because this is how the world is happening. The convergence of design and business is how future companies will succeed. I've shown you a few examples of how companies are succeeding right now in radically different industries. But the thing is, you have an advantage. Everyone in this room, you've been working with design methods in competitions like this, in design clubs at your top business schools. You have an incredible advantage in this space. If you come out of business school, you might look a little bit like this, right? You have marketing, finance, econ, ops, leadership, strategy experience, and you have maybe varying levels of competency from having a shared mindset around this, building proficiency, to becoming an expert. Maybe you look like this, maybe you look like this if you overslept in Fin 3 one too many times. I doubt that's you. But if you come out of business school, you probably look like this, but you look different. You're more dimensionalized. You not only have the domains and the skill sets of traditional MBA, you also understand research, reframing, experience design, and prototyping. You worked in these things. And some of you might have more or less of either of these things, but you're more well-rounded, more holistic. And you're who people want. You're who modern companies like IA Collaborative want, like Amazon, like people who are using design and business to grow. So we want you to come and work with collaborative teams that look not just like you, content strategists, engineers, graphic designers, ethnographers. And when you collaborate, you become stronger, as do they. You might be working with a data scientist who is really strong at prototyping and research, an interaction designer who's really great at experience design and problem reframing, and you bring the viability piece, and together you represent a holistic picture of how to attack any growth problem. A perfect merger of design and business to create growth strategies and build new businesses. So this is what you've been doing. That's what you've been doing in this competition. You, your teams, the collaborations that you've been having. I can't wait in the next few hours to understand and take in all the visions that you've created for this competition. And I do just want to say congratulations. Making it here to this day is a huge accomplishment in and of itself. So, I say congratulations to every single person here. And also, good luck to the contenders. It's going to be a great, great experience for everybody. Thank you.